The CDC now says the Delta variant accounts for more than 80% of new coronavirus cases. The U.S. averaged over 35,000 cases a day over the past week. That's triple the number it was just a month ago. And just recently, breakthrough infections were reported among several Texas state lawmakers that traveled to D.C. as part of a protest. A White House official and an aide to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi were also diagnosed with COVID. All were fully vaccinated. For more on this, let's bring in Weijia Jiang. She's joining us from the White House to discuss. So, Weijia, what is the White House saying about those staffers who've tested positive after being vaccinated?
Well, after we learned that at least one official tested positive, the press secretary, Jen Psaki, revealed that there had been other breakthrough cases in the past as well, meaning other officials here on campus also contracted the virus, even though they were fully vaccinated. What we don't know is exactly how many people this impacted or when. But she was also very forceful in saying that when someone is vaccinated and they get the virus, it is going to be a relatively mild case compared to those who are unvaccinated. But you really don't know, right? Because you don't know how your own body is going to react to COVID-19 until you contract it. And that's why there is growing concern about these breakthrough cases. And we've been pressing the CDC about one point in particular, which is why they are not tracking these breakthrough cases unless people end up in the hospital, because you would think that you'd be able to glean a lot of information about, who's impacted, why, whether one vaccine is more powerful than another for people, even who have mild cases, who aren't going to the hospital. So we're trying to get more information about the reasoning behind that. But overall, I think that the White House is just trying to stress that they are still taking this very seriously. They have regular testing in place, and certainly for anyone who is going to be around President Biden, they are tested regularly.
So Vlad mentioned this at the beginning of the show, that earlier on CBS This Morning, Florida Senator Marco Rubio addressed the concerns surrounding vaccine hesitancy and what his fellow Republicans are doing to push skeptical Americans to get vaccinated. Here's what he said.
This is really not a partisan issue. I don't care what the polling says. At the end of the day, the vaccine is the vaccine, and it's a human thing, and either you take it or you don't. And there are some people that don't want to be vaccinated, and you won't convince them. I have family members, I have friends that I've known for a long time, smart, educated people who just refuse to do it.
I know.
So we learned that Steve Scalise also recently was vaccinated, even though members of Congress have had an opportunity to be vaccinated, I think, since perhaps December, certainly January. Has there been a shift in messaging for Republicans on vaccinations as we face another surge?
We have definitely seen the messaging ramp up from very high-profile Republicans in the past week or so. Even conservative news hosts on Fox News, Sean Hannity, is coming out urging Americans to get vaccinations. And that's significant because a lot of these elected officials and these commentators did not take that opportunity until now, when we are seeing these breakthrough cases, when we are seeing the Delta variant really soar throughout the country, and when we are seeing the tale of two Americas, the unvaccinated and the vaccinated. So you have to wonder whether it's too little too late, because yes, they are coming out now, but there was a lot of wasted time between now and when the vaccine was first available, and people, a lot of them have made up their minds, so it's difficult to change that. So it's not just our polling. I know Senator Rubio's opinion is that it's not a partisan issue, but based on several polls, it does appear that it's people in red states, people who supported President Trump, who are not getting the vaccine. That is why it's so tricky, because it has become such a partisan issue.
Weijia, have you heard from officials at the White House what kind of outreach, if any, they are making to some of those conservative news hosts or talk show hosts, and what other outreach they could possibly do with Republicans like Senator Rubio, like Congressman Scalise? Because I sort of imagine, and I could be completely naive about this, that's why I don't cover politics, I'm naive in general, but I just imagine that an opportunity with the President of the United States or the Vice President and the Republican leadership talking about vaccines together could go a long way. But maybe there's some behind the scenes, actions that are happening that we don't know about.
You know, it's interesting because just yesterday there was some reporting from another news outlet that had to be walked back because initially the report said that the White House was having very close conversations with Fox News about the messaging around the vaccine, and then Fox News disputed that, the White House disputed that, and ultimately this report changed just to say that there has been a conversation between the White House and that organization, just like with other media outlets, about trying to deliver this message. But you're right in that we are not exactly sure who's picking up the phone and calling these decision makers about what they can do to spread the government's message, which is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. But the official line is that based on data, it's really people in the local community who have the most influence, like doctors, church leaders, different community organizers, people who are already trusted, who can deliver that message. And so, that is the real struggle here, because from day one, they've tried different outreach programs, they've tried to enlist different organizations to get that message across, and it's just not happening. It's not translating into more shots, I should say.
Right, we understand what you're saying. We should ask you a bit about this bipartisan infrastructure bill that's going to be going for a vote today in the Senate. The expectation is that Republicans are going to try to block it. I'm wondering how the Biden administration is prepared to respond. This is very important to President Biden. He needs a win in this category.
We've already seen a little bit about what the response could be, right? The White House is saying that this is just a procedural vote. They want to stress that even if all the Republicans vote no today, that does not mean that the bill will not eventually pass. But it is a necessary step to move forward. And so certainly it will affect the timing and perhaps fray the relationship a bit between the Republicans and Democrats who are trying to put this deal together. But the White House says that President Biden has been fully engaged throughout this entire process. We don't know if he's picking up the phone and calling any Republicans to say what he has said publicly, which is, hey, you guys have already agreed to this. We shook hands on this, so do the right thing. But we do expect that he will make more comments after the vote. He does have a town hall in Ohio later this evening, so he will probably offer some sort of reaction regardless of what the vote is. But you're right, Anne-Marie, this is a critical piece of his legislative agenda as he tries to pass not one but two infrastructure packages as part of his overarching goal.
Yeah. All right, Weijia, thank you.
Sure.